Good afternoon, Chairperson and members of the Board. The purpose of this briefing is to update the Board on Smart Tracking Limited's 2023 to 24 Information Security Transformation Strategy and Roadmap. I present options for the Board to consider and request permission to proceed with the option recommended by the Information Security Management and Transformation Committees. This will further assist us in protecting revenue generation and in differentiating ourselves from our competitors. I have broken down the presentation under 6 different themed categories. The executive summary of the context and rationale of the program. 2, the purpose and objectives of the program with its alignment to business value and business strategy. 3, information security governance. 4, the current security assessment. 5, the leading risks and their impacts. And 6, the roadmap and strategy with its strategic priorities, impact, costs, and options. Our intellectual and physical data are key assets. Our main customers are in the automobile and aerospace industries, where we supply real-time location tracking systems. We are expanding into the vast warehouse vertical. Our core customer base is situated on continental Europe, but we are establishing key strategic partnerships to expand the customer base throughout the Northern Hemisphere. We have 2 key security criteria to meet. Firstly, to protect the business's strategic processes and assets from degradation, denial, destruction, and misuse. Secondly, the European Automobile Manufacturers Association is tightening up its supply chain risk management by mandating all key suppliers like ourselves to obtain TSAC accreditation. TSAC is broadly defined as the automobile version of ISO 27001, which we also have to become recertified to next year, the new version being 2022. We therefore have prioritized certain strategic options and will present these 3 options. Option 1 is to continue as is, which places the continued viability of the business at risk. Option 2 will mitigate all the high identified risks, but will not get us into a position to become TSAC accredited, nor will we be able to make all the necessary adjustments to recertify to ISO 27001. The third option is the most expensive in terms of cost outlay, but it will meet our customer requirements, secure our products, and provide our customers and partners with the necessary confidence to procure our systems. And it will also underpin the expansion of our company with accompanying revenue growth. The key outcomes, therefore, include brand protection, ensuring the continued operation and expansion of the company, avoid the potential of fines due to improved security of our network, products, and delivery of service to customers, and compliance with security and data privacy frameworks. The objectives of the transformation program are listed on screen. The one I have not really mentioned yet is GDPR compliance and the assessment of the broader threat landscape in relation to business value. Together, the achievement of these objectives will enable not only the retention of existing business and new contracts with existing customers, but help grow growth in underexplored and unpenetrated verticals and markets. The governance structure consists of the management and transformation committees. While they are both comprised of the same executive personnel, they have different purposes. The Management Forum provides the necessary oversight to implementing the security strategy. The Transformation Committee has oversight of the transformation program required to implement the outcomes envisaged by the strategy. The Transformation Committee meets twice a month, chaired by the CISO, myself, who presents status reports. So where are we now, today? The present-day top 10 potential risks are listed, plotted on a heat map matrix against impact on the horizontal and likelihood on the vertical. These are governance, social engineering, supply chain, business continuity, product design, data privacy, data loss prevention, access controls, and vulnerability management. The individual values on the heat map are derived from the subjective views of the different subject matter experts and department heads in the company. Only one, governance, is rated medium. 4 are categorized as high, and the remaining 5 are very high. This tells us there is much work still to be done to get us as a business to where we need to be. In the meantime, I need to briefly delve down a bit more into some of the leading risks and impacts. The EU Cyber Solidarity Act will create a European cybersecurity shield and a comprehensive cyber emergency mechanism impacting critical industries, including aerospace and automobiles, which will have the effect of these companies further strengthening their supply chain risk management. We are a critical component in many such companies' supply chain. There are also the revisions to the NIST cybersecurity framework and the executive orders from the Biden administration, which increases scrutiny of the security of the supply chain. The EU has parallel efforts in play. The European Cyber Resilience Act aims to set the boundary conditions for the development of secure products with digital elements by ensuring that hardware and software products are placed on the market with fewer vulnerabilities and that manufacturers take security seriously throughout a product's lifecycle. It also aims to create conditions allowing users and customers to take security into account when selecting and using products with digital elements. Certain risks have already been mentioned, reiterated on this slide, but one important point is the threat of ransomware in the manufacturing sector, which, according to the 2023 Sophos report, is very high at over 50%. This leads to a risk of our data and intellectual property being stolen, sold, or held for high financial gain. This slide takes it a step further. It uses the same heat matrix color scheme to depict the current state of each of the security domains, ranging from regulatory, security architecture, product engineering, hardware and software, risk management, operations, and culture, amongst others. The transformation program objectives will transform our maturity and capabilities as seen on this next slide. That is, if the board approves our recommended option, which I'll come to in a minute. It moves the dial to medium and low risk for our different divisions, and more importantly, also places us in an advantageous position to be GDPR compliant, obtain our ISO renewal, and be accredited to TSAC. Here, you can see the top 10 areas of concern and the work which needs to be done to bring them within our risk appetite. The actions range from formalized awareness training, building security into the entire product development lifecycle, building and testing continuity plans, categorizing data and putting measures in place to mitigate data loss, to secure auditing of our third parties and the supply chain. Which brings us to the options themselves and the respective roadmaps. Option A is to do nothing, to keep going as we are. Option B is where it gets interesting. It is essentially divided in two stages. There is the foundational phase to be completed by February 2024. We will map out our crown jewel data and ensure there is appropriate access control and protective measures in place. Review our overall attack surface to see if there are any entry points which have been overlooked. This can be done by penetration testing. We will also introduce mandatory security awareness training and auditing of our third parties and supply chain. We would ramp up our efforts in the second phase through formalized monitoring of our crown jewel data to prevent illegal and inappropriate exfiltration, map our categorized data against GDPR stipulations, undertake business continuity testing, and bake in security to our product development life cycles. However, we can go one better, which is option C, covering the improvements mentioned on the previous slide to governance procedures, look at increasing the resilience of our supply chain itself, and explicitly map policies and processes to both TSAC and the new version of ISO 27001. Option B will cost £450,000 and option C £600,000. Has been iterated, and I'll reiterate it again. Option C will lay the best foundation for the continued operation and growth of the business. If we went for option B, I cannot guarantee that we would get recertified in 27001, and we likely would not get accredited to TSAC, which would place our current core revenue in jeopardy and may lead to the loss of business operations. It is at this point that I wish to stop and invite questions before we make a joint decision on which of the options the business wishes to choose.